Hello and welcome back to the Scoundrelling Cafe, and welcome to the final part in the Tamiya F-14 Tomcat build. This is the part I've been looking forward to the most. It's my favourite aspect of modelling, and that is the painting and weathering. And everything started with the base coat. I took a layered approach to the base coat. The US Navy grey is a very typical kind of scheme. It weathers very heavily. And it's really important with something like this to look at references constantly and try and recreate what you can see. So as you can see, a solid base coat goes down first. This is using MRP, which is nice and opaque and very thin and dries to a nice sheen. I went in with lighter shades, darker shades, and did a little bit of mottling. But you'll see, if you look at any reference photos, that these effects happen along panel lines. A lot of it is paint fading, but a lot of it is touch-ups from the crew, anti-corrosion measures. They literally get cans of spray paint out and touch up. So you get this kind of patchwork effect, but it's not really a marbled effect. It's a subtle difference, but you can see there the highlights and the lowlights using different tones. Now for the medium tone. The areas around the cockpit and intake had been painted before assembly, actually, just to aid masking. You can see there I'm just doing freehand the demarcation between the forward fuselage and the under fuselage. Painting around the steps. Now I had pre-painted the steps. There is going to be overspray, but I don't care because what I'm going to do is I'm going to mask off and I'm going to touch that up. But it was easier to paint the white first, then go around freehand and then just touch it up. I just felt that way round, yeah, okay, it's a little bit convoluted, but it was pretty easy. And you can see there's the middle colour. Now for the top colour, and here's the wings. So you can see there that the flaps and slats aren't on. It's because it's all modular, and you can see the different sheen in the paint as well. Now I kind of made a mistake here with the demarcation. It's in the wrong place. The sort of middle tone, I think it's 320, should go all the way back, and I did correct that later. So the darker tone going down first. You can see no primer coat on this, straight onto the bare plastic. And the idea is to build up a solid coat first, as I said earlier. I've masked off these strakes on top of the wing. They were a lighter colour when I looked at some of the photographs. And again, going in with lighter shades, darker shades, building up the tonal variation. Obviously this is the lighter shade going in over the panel lines, and then a bit of a cloudy effect. As I said, not necessarily marbling, but fading. Again, going over some of the panel lines. Now, interesting pattern on these F-14s. There's a kind of a wider, lighter pattern, and then what I'll do later is I'll go in with a darker tone, and I'll fill in between the sort of wider, lighter tone. It gives a really, really cool effect. If you look at photos of the real thing, you'll see what I mean. So here is a darker tone. Just picking out some of the panels. And this is going to test your airbrush skills for sure. I made my own masks for the tail markings rather than using the decals. So they were applied, and then this really dark grey, I think there is an FS number, but I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. I didn't have that, so just using photographs that I found online. I mixed up the tone, and then this was post shaded as well, so lightened areas, a little bit of black added as well, just to bring out some of those effects. Same tone was done on the spine. Again, I'd made masks from the decal sheet, because believe it or not, this dark area is on the decal sheet. And so here you can see me just doing along by the cockpit. When I did study the photos, there was a proper demarcation with the canopy, so that was touched up later. Corrugated going on the leading edge of the tailplane. Okay, next up, the metal areas down the back end. So over a black base coat, I applied this steel colour. This is from Ammo A stand. It's effectively Alclad. You can see the little bit of tape there masking off the camouflage. I've already painted the inside and weathered the inside of these Edward Brassin nozzles. And then using this sort of burnt tone, I just go in over the top and create that sort of patina. Again, I'm looking at photos of the real thing and I'm trying to replicate what I can see. Not too much bluing on these, and they were fairly dark actually. So this kind of burnt colour is nice, and it's a nice base before going in with just a bit of XF64 red brown, and you can see how it alters the patina quite nicely. And finishing off with a little bit of very thin black for post shading. Flory Models wash. I've not used this for a very long time. It has its limitations, but for these grey navy camouflages, it works an absolute treat. If you don't know what this stuff is, it is a clay-based acrylic wash, and it just gets liberally brushed over the whole surface. Now, I have done the markings, and I have applied the decals, and I've sealed everything with the VMS satin varnish. And I left the satin varnish a good couple of days to cure, and because it's going to get a little bit of rough treatment. But we just take a brush and we just work it into the surface. You can do this over a matte finish, you can do it over a gloss finish. I prefer a satin finish because it just gives that right level of bite, and the wash will stick in to the surface really quite well. Okay, I'm just going to speed up the video here. I don't often use this editing technique, but I thought it'd be quite useful in this instance. And you can see I'm working it in with the brush. So this is the dark dirt tone, which is a grimy tone. So it's got a hint of brown in it, as you can see, which works really, really nicely. And there we are. That's the entire airframe covered. Now we'll just leave that to dry off. You can use a hairdryer. Now time to remove the excess. So if I just rub with a dry kitchen towel, it takes a little bit off, but it's a bit stubborn. So I'm just going to dampen it down ever so slightly. That's going to reactivate the wash on the surface, and then you can see the effect it gives. It stays in all the panel lines, and it does work its way into the surface and gives that really nice grimy effect. As I said, on these grey aeroplanes it works an absolute treat, Other camouflages, I think it's less useful, but yeah, I really do like the effect it has. You can get in there with a cotton bud in some of the nooks and crannies in the more stubborn areas. And then if you do activate it a little bit too much, you can go in and add some more wash. That's not a problem. And if you don't like it, you can just wash the whole thing off under a tap. Job done. But you can see that lovely grimy effect you get with it. What I'll do now is I'll just leave you in real time, just so you can see the actual process and how long it takes and the polishing and stuff. And I'll see you in a bit.
Yeah, make all the demons quiet. Yeah, we were built to thrive. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night? Yeah, make all the demons quiet. Yeah, we were built to thrive. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Generation fueled by creation. We live lives on a small screen nation. We control the airwaves, no negotiation. I refuse to think we need saving. Something good will come from creation. And when we think that the world is too anxious, we'll adapt, evolve, survive, and save it. What keeps you up at night? Yeah, make all the demons quiet. Yeah, we were built to thrive. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night? Yeah, make all the demons quiet. Yeah, we were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. Hey, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong.
Okay, here is the finished result after the excess wash has been removed, and I hope you agree it gives a really nice effect. It highlights those panel lines and imparts that sort of grimy feel as well. I think it's fantastic stuff. Okay, time to put some things together now, and I left these parts off. They're actually quite early on in the instructions, but they were painted separately and just touched in. If you use a precise brush, you don't have to worry about the glue removing any of the paint. And you see what a nice effect that A-stand paint gives. That's steel. Ammo dry brush paint is superb stuff. This is the metallic, and I used it on the sort of gun panel. It's obviously masked off, and just dry brush it over the top. You can do it over a matte black base, but I just did it over the satin grey. Just remove that masking, and you can see what a great effect that gives. Oils now. So this layered approach with the sort of paint effects, then the Flory Models wash, and now finishing off with oils over the top. This is just adding a little bit more controlled grime. So using black, using a dirt, using browns in certain cases, and using white for a bit of paint fading. You see, concentrating the darker tone there in the nooks and crannies. There's all the dots applied, and what we're going to do now is just do a bit of wet blending just with a damp brush, and we're just going to blend those dots in. These are acting like little localized filters, really helping to add that sort of grimy faded effect. And just slowly working it into the surface, manipulating it around, just keeping it quite dry. It's only a little bit damp. Here's some more sort of browny tones. So again, looking at photographs of the real thing, quite often you see this browny tone. It's obviously not rust, just the way the sort of dirt accumulates and the type of dirt, I guess. This aeroplane operated in the desert, and is going to pick up some sort of dust and stuff, and not mud obviously, but that sort of browny tone and patina in certain areas. Dust is going to stick to stains, leaks, oil, anything like that. It'll just stick to immediately. That's probably what this is. But you can see it's not too brown. It is quite subtle. And going back in with some more grime now, highlighting some of the panel lines. Again, it's not even. It's not all the panel lines, it's just a few, and it helps to add to that patchy effect. And then you can see the finished effect with all the oils. There's a bit of streaking going on as well from some of the vents. Really grimy effect. Talking of streaking, if you look at F-14s, there's quite a lot of streaking and leaks and things that goes on down around the engines, down the back end. So using various tones, grimy tone and this rust tone, we can simulate hydraulic fluid as well as general grime and oil. So hydraulic fluid is this sort of reddy orange colour, so these rust tones work really well for that. So the streaks are drawn on with oil, given a little time to dry off a little bit, only about 10 or 15 minutes, and then we can use this flat brush moistened in thinner to just streak backwards in the direction of the airflow, again referring to pictures of the real thing, and brushing it forwards as well, just to make sure we get it up to the edge of the panel lines. If you just do it backwards, you can actually brush it away from the origin of the leak. Just using the side of the brush just to sharpen up some of the streaks. And they're just blending away some of the product, because obviously we don't want it coming out the middle of a panel. We want it coming out the panel line. And actually this might look a little bit extreme actually, but it's fairly restrained looking at some of the pictures. I didn't want to turn every effect up to 11 over the entire thing. The wing walkways, again, designed on my silhouette cutter, just tracing out the decal. And this is neat XF1 with a little bit of brown in there. And neat because that'll give the anti-slip texture. It'll go on very roughly, not too roughly, but yeah, in 48 scale, it's a really good approximation of the texture. Very characteristic of the Tomcat and Tornado actually is the way the grime and oil is affected by the wing sweep mechanism. So this was brushed on just using oil paint. Just getting a little bit more. See, this is the oil brusher. Now there are decals supplied, but I think they look a bit silly actually. But the decal is useful for getting the correct curvature, and you can just copy it. Now, taking a different tone and using this little brush, this is a little bit more precise. So I'm using a grime, a sort of browny, grimy colour, Starship Filth, black. And then we can just go in and start blending now. Bit nerve-wracking this. Just trying to keep that same sort of curvature. Sorry for my hairy arm getting in the way all the time, but I should have put the thinner on the other side. And the cloth. And we'll just drag it back, sweep it round in curves. And like I say, just trying to keep that correct pattern. Just going in and drying the brush off at times. A little bit more thinner at times. And just playing with it. And if it doesn't work, you can just take it all off and start again. And there we are, and we'll just leave that to dry. Just check, see how it looks. You can see I've done a little bit of streaking undersides as well from some of the flap actuators. Now we can start putting everything together. So the wing seals, they were painted separately. Just make sure you get the right ones. So they just clip into place. It's much easier doing this afterwards. The fit is so precise. It means there's no sort of awkward masking or anything like that. You can just paint it all separately and stick it together. and you can see how well it fits, and that you got that contrast of that sort of rubberized blah. Now these sort of fairing things, they just click into place. Obviously they were painted separately, but again the fit is superb. Now this is the reason why I did this, because you've got to put the larger rubberized parts on first and then sort of seal them in really with those other parts, and then the wings just slot in over the top, and then all it is now is a question of just putting everything together. So this is the cockpit shroud, if you like, and the cockpit had actually bowed out a little bit in the middle. I don't really know why, but it had done. There's a bit of a gap there, so we need to clamp it. So just putting all the glue in first and then trying to squeeze it, because I don't want any glue to sort of melt some of the plastic and then ooze out. So just being very careful, and then going with this clamp thing. It's got these rubberized feet so that it'll grip. And we'll just leave that to set for a long time. I'm not gonna, you know, take any chances with this springing apart. I had a bit of trouble with the shroud, and it's because what I thought were locating lugs were actually moulding pips. So once I removed those, it fit much better. Perfect, in fact. Which is, Tamiya, if it's not fitting, you've done something wrong. It's not the kit. Undercarriage legs from Detail and Wonder. These are 3D printed with metal cores. I'm just about to put the wheel hub on the wrong way around there, but fear not, I realise. Take it off and spin it round. But you can just see the detail is absolutely phenomenal. There I am, turning it around. You've got the little sort of hoses there that line up with tiny little holes for the where the wheel hub attaches. It's just unbelievable. Another game-changing product, these things. I mean, come on, look at that. It's just incredible. And I ended up applying a few decals to that later as well. But shave off. That's amazing. So the nose wheel I've stuck on the wrong way around, but it doesn't matter because it did cast around. I did fix that later. And you'll see in some of the final photos that the nose wheel's the wrong way around, but it's all fixed now, don't worry. But these resin parts, the fit is absolutely perfect. They just clip into place, not glued them. You don't need to glue them. Those undercarriage legs, it's almost where you buy the aftermarket part because they're so good, and then buy the kit just because you want to use them. Tail hook, again, that was painted and weathered off camera. That just clips in. The afterburner rings, Tomcats you'll find normally had sort of one open and one closed nozzle when at rest on the ground. So that's why that's like that. And you can see the weathering and on the inside as well. Beautiful detailed parts. Now for the ordnance. So the bombs were made up and they're all pinned so they won't fall off. You've got to do drop tanks on a Tomcat. I'm sorry, you just have to. It's the law. because it just makes it look even more badass than it does normally. And I like an asymmetric loadout. So we've got the lantern pod and a sidewinder on the left wing. That just goes in. A little bit wobbly actually, but it is pinned. And 3 laser guided bombs, 2 big ones at the front and the little one at the rear. I think an asymmetric ordnance loadout just makes it visually more interesting, actually. And also, the pylons are really nicely detailed, so it was nice to show off one of the bomb pylons. AIM-54 Phoenix going on. You can see there how I've pinned everything. It's going to make it a lot stronger and also a lot safer when I transport it back. And it all arrived in one piece. Final few details now. Here's the step ladder going on. I'm sure he used to be in charge of FIFA, step ladder. Little joke there for my football friends. Master barrels, Pito, again, absolute must. And that is pretty much it. So thanks very much for sticking with me on this series, and I'll leave you with a bit of a gallery now. So until the next project, cheers, bye-bye.